that Dixie Carter had been lied to, and that basically GFW is gonna that the Jarretts were behind the attacks the whole time, and that they're doing this for their company, and they're going to begin a hostile takeover. And of course, what this leads towards is, of course, PJ Black does lose the title to Bobby Lashley. Brian Myers and Trevor Lee become the TNA Tag Champs for about a week. You know, you have the GFW roster basically being the bad guys. And then it leads to a Lethal Lockdown match, which occurs, I think, before Bound for Glory. And Team TNA, just like in all the other Lethal Lockdown matches, ends up winning. And oh, by the way, just like with some of these other Invasion angles, you do have a turncoat, and it's Eric Young. So yeah, that's basically right off the bat what this whole thing's going to be in the end. That's what this whole thing's going to be like in the end. Now, potentially you might say, well, that sounds interesting, I might tune in. And you might. But again, here's the thing. Here's the thing. What sense does it make to turn a company, a promotion, an up-and-coming promotion like GFW that's been around for a year and is actually, and only recently in the past few months have got its feet wet physically with in-ring competition? What sense does it make to turn them heel, you know, when pretty much, I mean, what sense does it make? What, just to get them noticed? I think one fan said it best in the comment section. They said it's nothing, this invasion angle is nothing more than an infomercial. And again, like I said, it would work. It would work, but the main problem is GFW doesn't have a national television deal, and Destination America doesn't know if they're going to be around after September or after the end of the year. They don't know. They don't even know if they'll make it to the end of the year. And yet they're doing this for what reason? You see, it doesn't make any sense, folks. It really doesn't. And again, the booking is what's hurting it. The booking is what's hurting it. Now, true, this whole invasion thing is great for the TNA fans and the GFW fans. Don't get me wrong about that. But we've only had one TNA invasion at a GFW live event, and that was Eric Young, who, by the way, ends up joining GFW in this story arc. Yeah, Eric Young, the one that invades a GFW live event, steals the King of the Mountain title, ends up joining GFW in the end anyway. What sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Only one guy invades. Only one guy. And everybody, and for the rest of this whole story arc, you have everybody on the main roster of GFW invading. What sense does that make? It doesn't. And the guy that invades on behalf of TNA ends up joining them anyway. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And what is it supposed to do? What, it's supposed to change Destination America's minds? Sorry, their minds are made up, according to several sources. And again, just like the WWE didn't book the invasion of WCW, the invasion angle with WCW and ECW correctly, TNA is doing somewhat similar. You don't want to stretch this out to at least Bound for Glory, to where you would have a more wider audience and even a larger audience in arena to perform in front of, to culminate this all in? You don't want to do that? You don't want to stretch it out to where you can have these main interpromotional matches that will decide the future of both companies, as well as the shares, as well as who gets all the shares of TNA in a Lethal Lockdown match? You don't want to do this at Bound for Glory? You want to do this at a TV taping? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, if I was booking this, I would stretch it out to Bound for Glory. I would freaking make every match an interpromotional match. Yeah, I'd put titles of TNA on the line. And everything. And I would main event the damn show with Lethal Lockdown. And go from there. It would make the event, in a sense, more bigger and more... well, make it more important in a sense. And would make people want to tune in and watch it. And for GFW, it would give them that exposure they need. But is either promotion doing that? No, they're not. They're not doing it at all. And it doesn't make any fucking sense. Excuse my language, Lord. Excuse my language, God, but please forgive me for saying that, God. In your name I pray. Amen. But it doesn't make any blankety blank sense. It doesn't. I mean, if I'm TNA, I freaking hold off to Bound for Glory. Heck, you really want to make this story interesting. You want to make this story interesting. You know what made the Invasion Angle somewhat interesting, in a sense, for people at the beginning? You know what made it interesting? The same thing that made the NWO one interesting. You had the world champion on the enemy's side. You had the WWF champion, in the case of Stone Cold Steve Austin, on the WCW, ECW side. You had the WCW champion in Hulk Hogan on the side of the NWO, rechristening the belt as the NWO title. You know what would make this more interesting, or would have made this more interesting? Instead of having EC3, who, by the way, is not a world champion according to Pro Wrestling Illustrated, it would have made more interesting if Ethan Carter III, EC3, Dixie's on-screen nephew, it would have made it more interesting if he would have turned against TNA, against his aunt, joined GFW, and a la like Hulk Hogan, rechristened the TNA title the GWF title. It would have made that would have been more captivating and would have gotten people talking, because here's somebody that from the Schleg Daddy, Solo Monster, Don Tony and Kevin Castle, Bill Apter, anybody that's a wrestling insider or fan have said, give this guy an opportunity and he's going to blow you away. And he's been doing that. Just imagine this guy, you know, who people have said give him a chance, he'll blow you away, turning against TNA and against his aunt and joining GFW. It would have made more sense. It would have made sense. But they didn't go that way according to the spoilers. Now they might still go that way at Bound for Glory if they have Drew Galloway win and he reveals, hey, I'm part of GFW and I'm taking the belt to GFW. That'll be interesting. That'll get people's attention. But again, it's all up to TNA. Because right now, they already took the load, excuse my phrasing of this, they already took the load and blew it. They already shook the load and they blew it. That's what they did. They weren't patient enough. Again, if I'm TNA and GFW, I would have stretched this out to Bound for Glory and done what the WWE didn't want to do back in 2001. But they didn't. Heck, they did something WWE didn't do with CM Punk with AJ Styles. When he became champion, they let him take the belt all over the world in other places. Did they do that? And that was somewhat good for them, somewhat decent of them. But do they want to do something similar by stretching out things to Bound for Glory? No. Do they want to wait to do the Lethal Lockdown winner-take-all match at Bound for Glory? No. And that's why, even though visually we have not seen this Invasion Angle storyline take place yet on television on Destination America, this is why a lot of people are talking down about it, because they have basically booked this wrong. And this is why it hurts. I mean, many factors. There are so many factors. I mean, one of the main factors, like I said, is GFW Amped, their television show, doesn't have a television deal. I mean, heck, Paragon Pro Wrestling has a freaking television deal, 6 a.m. in the morning on Pop TV. And oh, by the way, they film in Las Vegas too, probably down the road. Does GFW have a television deal? No. And you know what? It made more sense? A PPW versus TNA feud. Because at least both have a freaking television deal. I think one fan said it best. This Invasion Angle is nothing more, on the TNA side of things, an infomercial for Global Force Wrestling. Even though for the past year, with all due respect to him, Jeff Jarrett has shoved Global Force Wrestling down our throat by talking about who's going to be a part of it, how it's going to change things, how it's going to lead to another boom. All the international promotions he's, partnering up with. More specifically, something like New Japan, IWGP, when they helped promote Wrestle Kingdom 9, which I thought was a good show. When you do that for past year, and in this past year you have not yet gotten yourselves a television deal, even though you've made a partnership with the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas to do television tapings. Even though you've done all that, you have not secured yourself a television deal, which in a sense makes your storyline invasion with TNA pointless. Because for those that may just be new to GFW for the first time and are getting exposure to it courtesy of TNA Impact, to those people that are getting introduced to you guys through that, they're going to think GFW is full of nothing but jerks. They're not going to take you seriously. They're not going to want to watch you, even when you finally get a television deal. Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't freaking make sense. And they know it. And again, you don't want to stretch this out to Bound for Glory, where you would have not only in arena, in venue, a larger crowd of 3,500 people possibly, but possibly a larger audience watching on pay-per-view, which would get you that exposure, not just for an up-and-coming promotion that wants to that's doing television tapings and wants to get that national TV deal, but maybe a company that wants to at least get a third chance, one more shot at a national television deal somewhere in TNA. You don't want to do that? Shows you how pointless this is. This is why that even though visually it's not begun, we have not seen it begin, people are talking down about it just as much as they talked about the WCW Invasion Angle in 2001. Because reading by spoilers, looking at pictures, video footage, you're basically blowing your load, you're chucking and blowing your load before you even, hit your grand slam, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, you're trying to blow your load. Excuse me the way I interpret it, but you're trying to basically hit a home run, and you haven't even gotten to first yet, or you haven't even come up to bat yet. You're basically trying to hit a home run. You're running the bases, and you find out it's nothing more than a foul. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. And if I'm Global Force Wrestling and TNA, when I look back at this in the years to come, whether both promotions are still around by then or not, I look back at this, you know what I say to myself years from now? I ask myself this: what the heck was I thinking? Why didn't we wait? That's what's going to happen. And again, this is why you don't hear people talking bad about the ROH CZW invasion, because it was done right, and they had several television outlets syndicated, if you will, that at least people could see this invasion taking place, visually see this invasion take place on both separate promotion shows. Same with Smoky Mountain in the USWA. I'm just saying, it just doesn't make any sense, folks. And to me, It never will. So we'll just have to visually see what happens. Maybe it might visually turn out better than what people are talking about through spoilers and stuff. But God only knows. So you guys let me know what you think about this TNA GFW Invasion deal. Let me know if you think they got it right, or do you think they got it wrong. Talk to y'all later.